In this video, we are going to learn how to read the table of variations of a function. Consider in what follows this table of variations. We are asked to find, first of all, the domain of definition of the table of the function f. In fact, we know that the domain of definition of a function is the set of the antecedents or the set of the inputs of the functions, or more specific, the allowed inputs. What inputs can we replace in this function? In fact, according to the table of variations, if we look at it, the inputs starts from -3 to plus infinity without the existence of any restriction or any blocked or any gap or any excluded value. شو يعني excluded value؟ يعني يمكن somewhere يجي يعطيك value, let's say هون يحط لك 1. let me change the color. اوكي يمكن يحط لك 1 هون ويعمل لك هيك restriction. So in this case the domain will be divided into two parts, -3 to 1, then 1 union 1 to plus infinity. But in our case here, in our study, there is no restriction. So what is the domain? It's from -3 to plus infinity. Interval -3 plus infinity. So here we say x belongs to -3 to plus infinity. Now the question, is -3 closed interval or is it an open interval? This in fact depends on what? On the value of the image of -3. As we see, the image is minus infinity. So if -3 is in the domain, when we replace it in f, we must get a real number. We must get a y which belongs to r. But in our case here, we get minus infinity. Minus infinity does not belong to the set of real numbers. I repeat again. Okay. Look. Simply, if the answer of an output, an input, let x be equal, for example, to 4. If the output of this number is a real number, any real number belongs to R, any number, then we say, where y is f of x, then we say that x belongs to the domain of f. This is if y belongs to R. Now, if the output of 4 does not belong to R, then this means that y equal f of x does not exist. And instead of it, we have limit of f of x as x tends to this number. So in this case, we say that the given number x, which is 4 here, x does not belong to the domain of definition. So simply, if the answer is a real number, then x is in the domain. If the answer is not a real number, like infinity, for example, then we say x is not in the domain. So here, back to our question, as the image of -3 is what? Is minus infinity. This means that -3 is not in the domain. For this reason, we say the domain is from -3 to plus infinity, بس هو نحن كل همنا نعرف إذا closed أو open على -3. It is open on -3. Sorry. Okay. I write the answers in a separate sheet. So part 1, x belongs to an open interval -3 to plus infinity. Now let's move to part 2. Determine f of 0. Here we have the input is 0. In this case, what is the output? It's also 0. However, if I'm asked to find the input of -1, f of -1, we say 4. f of -2 is 0. f of infinity, I can't say f of infinity. Instead of that, I say limit as x tends to plus infinity. What is the limit as x tends to plus infinity? That is, if x is plus infinity, what is the value of y? It is 1. And what is the value of f when x is minus 3? The input is minus infinity. Okay? So let's write the answers now. First of all, f of 0 is the output of 0, which is 0. And also we have limit as x tends to minus 3 to the right of the curve. As we see, minus 3 to the right, the answer is minus infinity. And the limit as x tends to plus infinity of f of x. Let's look at plus infinity, sorry. The answer is what? 1. Okay. I can also precise whether is it 1 plus or 1 minus. هي جاي من الزيرو طالعة على ال1 يعني هي أقل من 1 بشوي. Anyway هنا منه very important. Now بعد في عندنا شغلة قفيناها. f prime of minus 1. What is f prime of minus 1? As we know, before doing anything, I know that f prime of a certain value or at a certain point, f prime is the slope of the tangent at the point whose abscissa is 1. 1 something يعني. Okay? It's the slope of the tangent. كمان we can say that it is the rate of change at this point. At the point 1 something. Whether we are talking about the slope of the tangent or the rate of change. At the point whose abscissa, sorry, it's minus 1. I'm sorry. It's minus 1. Okay. فإذن at the point minus 1y, minus 1 something. If we look at the point minus 1 here, then the output, this is y, this is f, is 4. But what about f prime? At this point, we know from grade 10 أصلا, at this point here, we have what we call a maximum, whereas the function is constant. And also at the minimum, we have the same thing here if we have a minimum. Also at the minimum, the function is constant. What do you mean by constant? That is, the function is not changing. يعني for an instant, طلع حبيبتي. نحن عندنا هذه curve increasing, then it decreases. Here we have the maximum at the top of this hill. For an instance, لو كان بريها سوينا اللي هو أصغر تصغير للثانية. لو for an instance صغيرة الفانكشن هون will be constant. راح توقف لأنه هي كانت increasing then decreasing. Before changing from increasing to decreasing, it will be somewhere here. It will be constant. So at this maximum, we have a constant. What is the derivative of the constant? What is the rate of change? ما هو constant يعني ما في change. What is the slope of the tangent when the tangent is horizontally? All cases confirm the answer, which is 0. So لما يكون في عنا when we have a maximum or a minimum or simply constant or a horizontal tangent, we say that the derivative is equal to 0. So what do we write here? We write f prime of minus 1. You can simply write f prime of minus 1 is equal. هيك ما صححنا يا هون. Is equal to what? Is equal to 0. Because we have a horizontal tangent, or because we have a maximum, or because the function is constant. We continue to part 3. Solve the following equations. F of x equal to 4. F of x equal to 4, it means y equal to 4. Y equals to 4. As you see, خلونا نفكر شوي نحن بهذا الكيرف. يعني نحن بعد ما تعلمنا how to draw curves, but let's think. This function is coming from minus infinity, going up until 4, then go down to 0, then up to 1. It's like this, coming from minus infinity and reaching somewhere 4. The elevation is 4. يعني عالي عن ال x-axis 4. Then it goes down in لوين to 0. يعني to here, 0. Then goes up to 1, like this, here 1. Okay? So I want to know how many times it touches y equal to 4. كم مرة بتدق بهذا اللاين؟ هذا اللاين اسمه y equal to 4. It cuts it 1 time. And I want to know the x of this point. لو قلت لكم how many solutions does fx equal to 5 admits؟ بتقول لي no solution. لو قلت لك fx equal to 0 بتقول لي 2 solutions. One of them is called double. طيب back to the exercise, sorry. As in, I want to find the solutions of f of x equal to 4, reading it from where? From the table of variations. As you see, coming from, hey, كيف بنفكر نحن? How to think about this? I start from here. Going up from minus infinity, I reaches here 4. So I touches 4 for the first time. Then I go down to 0. There is no 4 here. And from 0 to 1, there is no 4 here. So I touches 4 only one time. مرة واحدة. One time. أيمتى? I touches 4 when? What? When x is minus 1. So what is the solution? So in this part, sorry, what do we say? Part 3. If f of x equal to 4, this means that x is equal to minus 1. What else? Now, I want to solve fx greater than 0. So when does f of x move through the points of positive ordinate؟ يعني ايمتى هي بتكون اكبر من 0؟ Let's read it on the table of variation. هون نحن مبلشين ماينس 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 لحد ما وصلنا للزيرو. وصلنا للزيرو. بعدين صرنا بلس 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 4 بلس 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 كلهم بعدهم رجعنا وصلنا للزيرو. يعني بلس 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 بلس. So I want to know ايمتى هي positive. For what values of x, f of x is positive? Can you read it? Okay. Before minus 2, before this number, كنا negative. At this number, صرنا 0. After this number, صرنا positive على طول except هون. هي مالنا positive, هيدي 0. So هي from minus 2 to plus infinity على طول ال outputs, ال answers كانوا positive من عدا مرة واحدة لما كان ال x equal to 0. So simply the solution of this one, we write f of x is positive when x belongs to minus 2 to plus infinity except 0. That is minus 2, 0, union 0 to plus infinity. طب في عندنا طريقة تانية؟ ايه كان فينا نروح نعمل table of sign of f of x ونشوف امتى بتطلع positive. كيف نعمل table of sign وانا ما معي ال f of x؟ How do I set up a table of sign of f without having the expression of f? Simply according to the table of variations. If we look at the table, the function starts negative, then it becomes 0, then positive, then again 0, then positive. So I can construct the table like this. It's first of all, it was somewhere negative, then it becomes positive, and then 0, in our she can't negative, then 0, then positive, then 0, then positive again. So it becomes 0 for the first time when x is minus 2. It becomes 0 for the second time when x is 0. And here is plus infinity, and here is not minus infinity, it starts with minus 3. This is x, and this is the sign of f. So if I want to know when f is positive امتى هي بتطلع positive مرتين f of x لأنه ما في or equal يعني في عنا open interval we say x belongs to -2 to 0 open union 0 to plus infinity so this is another way okay حبيباتي طيب نكفي now what about f prime of x negative what do you mean by f prime negative f prime is the derivative it's the slope of the tangent the rate of change if the rate of change is negative if f prime is negative this means that f is what decreasing so بكل بساطة احنا فينا نكتبها هون فينا نقول part 3 f prime of x is negative when f is strictly decreasing and according to the table of variations this happens when x is between امتى ال f decreasing يجي واحد بيقول لي x is decreasing between 4 and 0 غلط wrong x is decreasing from 4 to 0 and not between 4 and 0 x is decreasing from 4 and 0 but for the values of x it's between -1 and 0 so this is the domain or the part of the domain when f is decreasing when x is between -1 to 0 and consequently كمان لأنه ما في or equal we say we take open interval -1 to 0 concerning the last question f of x greater than 4 look at the curve it starts from -infinity it reaches 4 and then below ما في أعلى من 4 all of the values of the function are below 4 so what is the solution of f of x greater than 4 okay. امتى f of x greater than 4 you say there is no real solution impossible f of x is not greater than 4 anywhere على طول هي as you see أعلى value وصلت له 4 بس أكتر من 4 ما وصلت so there is no real solution and finally the part 4 I want to know the number of solutions of f of x equal to 2 that is how many times it passes through 2 f upon فينا نقرا الانترفلز واحد واحد going up from -infinity to 4 we passes through 2 1 times once -infinity وصلنا للزيرو من بعد الزيرو 1 2 so it passes through 2 once from 4 to 0 كمان احنا نازلين من الأربعة للصفر 4 3 2 so it passes through 2 another time then from 0 up to 1 ما في 2 so how many solutions does f(x) equal to admit it admits 2 solutions طيب if you are answering in the exam you have to explain this كيف بتقولوا when f is increasing as f increases from -infinity to 4 it admits one solution أو إذا بدكم تحكوا عن الانترفل over this interval and over this interval يعني أنا بقول له like this over the interval -3 -1 f increases from -infinity to +4 thus it passes through 2 so f of x equal to 2 admits one solution okay now this is over -3 -1 over -1 to 0 f decreases from 4 to 0 thus it passes through 2 صح fx equal to 2 admits one solution طب over the third interval اللي هو من 0 to +infinity f increases إذا بترجعوا للتيبل from 0 to 1 from 0 to 1 ما بتمرق بال2 يعني ما في solution so the total number of solutions is one solution هون و one solution هون I get 2 solutions move to exercise number 5